Hello everyone, this is Rajendra, and in this particular video we are going to create our first container. Okay, so let's start. So I have one simple application. It's a simple web application which contains, okay, it's a Python web application. It will just start one server, and if you access that, hit the request to that server, it will just give a message like hello from container world. Okay, so this is something like a hello world program of a Docker. Okay, so now let's start. Okay, so before before the invention of Docker, what we are doing is, as discussed in our very first video where we have seen the difference between virtual machines and the Docker container, and before that how we are deploying our application, right? What we are doing is, for every system we are just deploying one application. Okay, and then in that case, for complete that system, that application is running, so there are high chances that that particular application is not going to utilize all the resources that we have assigned to that system. Okay, so so this is my one host machine. This is a simple host machine. Here I am just starting this application. Okay, so before that, let me show you this application, what it is doing. Okay, so this is a simple Python Flask application where I am just starting one simple server. Okay, this is a simple server which is starting localhost and starting it on a 8080 port. Okay, so if I run this, okay, let me just close this file, and if I run this application with simple Python application, you can see that here this application gets started. So it is starting one server, web server, and now if I want to access this server, let me open one more terminal. It is running on the local host. Okay, so let me just try to access it, localhost colon 8080. Okay, so we have seen in the code that this application running on 8080 port. Okay, now if I run this, you can see that we are getting the output. Okay, because in the another terminal this server is running, you can see that one log is there. Okay, so let me hit it again. Again I am getting this message. If you see in other terminal, you can see that the next request I got. Okay, so if you see, if I add multiple requests, we'll get those logs here. Okay, hit request log is there. Now if I close this, okay, if I do control C, that means that application is whatever the application was running, it stopped working, right? Now if I try to access this application, you can see that failed to connect to localhost port 8080. That means now on this particular port nothing is running. Okay, so if you again just start this application, okay, it's running on, here you can see that's running on 800, that is localhost, and 8080 is the port. Okay, now if I try to access, you can see that I'm able to access it now. So this is how so this is a very simple application. That's why you will not see that the difference between means how these resources are getting utilized. Okay, but if there is a very huge application, and if you want to start that deploy that application on any host machine, in that case the managing of that application becomes difficult, because let's say you have your application the host where your application is running, we have assigned 16 GB of RAM. Okay, but your application hardly using it's out of 16 GB, your application is using only 12 GB. Okay, so the remaining 4 GB is just a buffer. Okay, it's so we are just wasting that remaining 4 GB, because our application is never going to use that 4 GB, because the maximum requirement of the memory is 12 GB only. Okay, so here we are wasting the resources. Okay, but in case let's say you have assigned a 16 GB for that machine, and now your application is consuming complete 16 GB, and it requires more memory to, because suddenly we got a lot of requests from the customer. So there's a huge load on your website, and that's why your host where your application is running requires more memory. Okay, so in this scenario, scaling of your hardware, okay, we call it as a, there are two types of scaling. One is a vertical scaling, one is a hardware, another is a horizontal scaling. Vertical scaling means increasing the size of your current machine only. Okay, and the horizontal scaling means we are just adding multiple machine in the current setup. Okay, but at that point of time there was no facility, okay, to this scaling your scaling your application horizontally, because there was no cluster manager to manage all your machines and all. Okay, there was only way is to vertical scaling. Okay, in that case you are just taking down your application and then increasing the hardware resources or the compute resources of your machine, and then you're again restarting your application. Okay, so this is how the typical old fashioned deployment we are doing. Okay, now, but again before Docker, again there were some disadvantages, like let's say I have developed this particular web application on the Windows machines, and there is a high chance that when I deploy that application in the production environment, there I was installing that on the Windows 32 machine. Okay, but my application was developed in the context of a 64 bit machine. Okay, so there are such a lot of issues we had to face before the Docker. Okay, but when Docker came in, there are a lot of other advantages that we get is, while sending your application or the creating your application bundle, we are also adding all the details related to that application, like the binaries or the libraries that required to your application, as well as the complete environment that is required to for your application to be run. Okay, so that complete bundle we are passing to the client side, and then client can just simply start that application. That is nothing but you can start the container and your application will be running. So here there is no something like a platform dependency or so your application will run because you are completely shipping the environment as well. Okay, so now let's say this same application I want to deploy with the help of Docker. Okay, that means I want to create a container with the help of Docker for this same application. Okay, so let's go one by one what all things we need to do. Okay, now this is your application http server.py. Okay, now I want to deploy this application. Okay, so to create a bundle of this application, what all things we need? Okay, so first thing that we need to do is we have to create the image of this application. Okay, so when we create the image of this application, so inside that image what all things are included? Okay, your application is there, the dependent libraries are there. Okay, all the requirement of that application are there, then the environment is also there. Okay, environment means let's say my application is running on Ubuntu machine or CentOS machine or whatever. Okay, so all this requirement we can put, okay, we can all this requirement we required. So what we'll do to create that image, what we have to do is we have to write one Docker file. So what is this Docker file? Docker file is a configuration file where we put all the requirements for your application along with your application. Okay, and then from this configuration file, with the help of some tools, some Docker tools, we build this image. Okay, so once that image is built, we put that means we use this image and we start our the container. Okay, so now first let's see how to create a Docker file. Okay, once we create a Docker file, then we'll see the step by step next step how we can do this. Okay, so now let me just open the Docker file and then see how we can write it. Okay, now for this particular application, this is the simplest of Docker file. Okay, so what all things we need to write in the Docker file? The first thing, okay, first thing, the way we write the Docker file is in a layers, step by step basis. Okay, that means there are we have to write those steps, okay, one by one. But while writing those Docker file steps, here we have to consider two things. Okay, the first thing that we need to consider is what all the instruction that I require to build my image. Okay, and then the next thing I have to consider is the sequence of those instructions, because here this building of your image happens on the layered basis. Okay, layered basis means every step is nothing but a one layer. Okay, so if you see this particular image, okay, so this particular Docker file, this from Python 2.7 on build, okay, this is one step. Okay, so this one step is nothing but a one layer. Okay, then what will happen, this first layer will be built. Okay, then next step, what is the next step, expose 800. Okay, if your application should be accessible outside the world, outside that container, in that case you should expose that port so that your application will be available outside the container. Because what happens, by default all the ports of your container are closed. Okay, that means your application will not be accessible outside the container. Okay, so to make that application to be accessible outside that container, what we have to do, whatever the port where your application is running, we have to expose that port. Okay, once exposed, we can access that application which is running inside the container. Okay, the next thing that we need to see do is, we'll see while running this container, is that when now first thing what we have done is we have exposed the port, so that now your container application is accessible outside the container. But again, that container is not visible to everybody. Okay, but your host machine is visible to everybody. So what we have to do, we have to bind that container port to your host machine port. So in this case, what will happen, if if there is any request coming to your host port, you can pass that request to the container. Okay, and then why this will happen, because we are binding the container port and the host port. Okay, so request coming for your host port, that will be forwarded to the container port, and then from that container port to your application port. Okay, so this is how simple flow will work. Okay, now the next instruction is CMD instruction. Okay, so what this instruction says is that what will be the first command that should be run when we start the container. Okay, the first command that we want to run is Python HTTP server. That means we want to start the server for this particular container. Okay, now so we have just written a 3 steps. Okay, but this is nothing but a 3 layers. Okay, so what happens when we build the Docker file or the image, we build the image from the Docker file. Okay, so when we start building the image, okay, in that case what will happen, all these steps are built separately. Okay, so the first step will be built, that is a layer 1, then second step will be built, that is a layer 2, and the third step will be built, that is layer 3. Okay, now what will happen, let's say there is some change in your application. Okay, so what will happen, if there is some change in your application, only the last step will be changed, right? Because whatever the application related part is there, which is there in the last port or last step of this Docker file. Okay, so if you build this Docker file again, in that case, out of these 3 layers, only the last layer will be rebuilt. Okay, the first 2 steps will not be rebuilt because there is a no change. Okay, so that's why while writing Docker file, we have to consider this 2 steps that we have talked earlier. Okay, so let me repeat. The first step is what all instruction we need to write. Okay, that we have to first define that, and then the next step is what will be the sequence of this instruction. Okay, so we have to maintain the sequence in such a way that the steps which are changing frequently, that should be at the end of the Docker file, so that what will happen, the steps that are changing will not cause any problem for the steps which are not getting changed frequently. Okay, so that means only the last few steps will be rebuilt, okay, and not the first few steps. Okay, but what will happen if you write the very frequent if you write the steps which are changing frequently at the top of your Docker file, then even though there are steps which are not going to change frequently are there at the last, but still we have to rebuild those steps. Why so? Because all these layers are interdependent. Okay, means every layer is built on the basis of your previous layer. Okay, so that's why if the, let's say my first step got changed, okay, my first step got changed, so in that case, even though there is no change in the second and third step, still those two steps will be rebuilt, because both these steps are dependent on the first step. Okay, now if there is change in your second step, that is export 8080, in that case your first layer will not be rebuilt, because it is not depend on your second step, but your third step is dependent on your second step, which is now changed. Okay, so your third step will also be rebuilt. Okay, if your only third step got changed, in that case there is no need to rebuild your first and second step, only the last step will be rebuilt. Okay, so these are the things we need to take care while writing the Docker file. Okay, so now we have seen how to write the Docker file. Okay, but for our application we need some modification in that Docker file. We'll do that. Okay, but before that there is one more thing, is what we have to do is we have to pass the required libraries for your application. Okay, we have to pass means we have to add that in the Docker file. Okay, so how we can do that? For that we have one file called requirement.txt. okay, where you put all the requirements in that txt file. Okay, then copy this requirement.txt inside that Docker file, and then you can install all the required libraries inside the container. Okay, so let's see how we can do that. Okay, now requirement.txt is there in the current directory. Okay, so let me open this Docker file. Now this is the first step, where what I am doing is I am just using the one image, okay, which has some standard defined whatever the standard basic requirement of your host machines are there, that are there. Okay, so that's why this is a from. Okay, from is nothing but one instruction, and then this first Python. Okay, this is the name of your image. Okay, this is already created image and available it on the Docker Hub. Okay, in last couple of videos we talked like what is Docker Hub. It's something like a remote repository where we can keep the images. Okay, and from there, from that Docker Hub, we can download or pull or push the images. Okay, now so this Python image is already available in the Docker Hub, so I'm just using this Python image. Then there is a colon 2.7 hyphen on build. So what is this? This is nothing but a version or a tag of your image. Okay, because what happens, why we need to give the tags for the image is that we have to we know that if we develop our application, okay, so what we do when we develop our application, let's say you have developed first first time you have developed your application and you have given the version like 1.0. okay, then let's say after few days or few months there is a one more feature got developed. Okay, then what you can do is you can give that feature name or that application name that version 1.1. okay, so that you can easily understand that this particular feature released in 1.1. okay, now let's say again after few months or few days there is one more feature got developed. Okay, so you cannot merge this feature directly inside that 1.0. okay, so what we do is we just add this code and we can give this version as a 1.2. so what is the advantage of giving this different version is that, let's say you integrate this feature inside this branch, and if something goes wrong you can easily revert your code to the previous version. okay, right, but if you don't have this segregation, then in this case what will happen if you don't give any version or any tagging? In that case what will happen is if you made some changes and deploy the application, and if there is some problem happen due to the new version, the new feature that you added, then what we have to do, we have to go and again remove the changes that we have done for this feature, and then you have to start the application with the old feature. okay, so this is not a good way to maintain the feature or the upgrade the feature. okay, so this will create a lot of problem, but to avoid that what we do is we give the tagging. okay, with the help of tagging what will happen is we have the multiple versions and you can easily maintain. okay, the same concept we apply for the images as well. okay, so to maintain the difference between two different feature we give the tags. okay, so that's why we are giving this tag 2.7 on build. okay, so now this is our first instruction. The next instruction what I want to do is I want to copy that requirements.txt to this current location. okay, current location means I am just copying that requirement.txt out from the host machine to inside the container. okay, so now once that is done, I want to run this, I want to install all this requirement.txt. For that I have command pip install -r requirement.txt. okay, requirements.txt. okay, so once copied that requirement.txt, we are just installing all the application from that requirement.txt inside the container. The next step what we are doing is we are just exposing that 8080 port, because this particular application is running on 8080 port, and then this cmd instruction is nothing but what will be the first command that should be started when your container gets start. okay, now let me save this. If you want to see the requirement.txt, you can see that there is only one module that we want as a requirement is the Flask. okay, because if you see my application, we are just importing the Flask module which we need to install. okay, we are also importing the OS module, but we don't need this OS module to be installed, because that comes with the default Python installation. okay, now we have written Docker file, we have requirement.txt. okay, now we can build this. okay, but before that let me do Docker images. okay, you can see that there's only an nginx image, there is no other image. So now let me build this. okay, now what is the command to build the image? okay, Docker build. Now what is this -t? okay, if you see the help of Docker build, there are a lot of options that you can pass. okay, but to name a few, you can see that -t. okay, what is this -t? -t is for tag. okay, name and optionally a tag in the name : tag, target string, set the target build stage to the build. okay, that means what is this target build stage means for which repository you are building this particular image, because if you want to push this image to the remote repository, we need to tag with that remote repository name. Okay, so for that we are giving -t option. Okay, so now let's do that. Docker build -t. Now the remote repository name is Rajendra IT99. Okay, so what is this Rajendra IT99? So let me show you that. So we know that on the Docker Hub is the remote repository. Okay, so I want to build my image for this repository where I have the account. Okay, you can see that I already logged in inside this account. If I go to the my repository, okay, here is the repository. If I click on this, you can see that this is my Docker ID. Okay, so we have to give that Docker ID, okay, Docker ID / image name, so that we can refer that image and the repository name. Okay, so this is my account. If you want to create your image and you want to push that image to Docker Hub, in that case what you can do, just log in into the dockerhub.com. okay, sign in, create your account. Okay, create your account, then there will be a one unique ID will be generated for your account. That will be something like ABC XYZ, something like that, and then that Docker ID you can use while building the image. Okay, so let's go back. Now my Docker ID is Rajendra IT99. Okay, and / we can give the image name. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll give the image name as okay, so I have given the Docker ID. Okay, and now I have to give the image name. Okay, so let me give the image name as a REC. Okay, this is for recording, so I'm giving REC. Okay, and then colon, you can give the tag. Okay, so let me give the tag as 1.0, and then we have to give the path for your Docker file. Okay, this is very important. Here we need to give the path for your Docker file, so that this Docker build command will use that Docker file, and then it will parse that Docker file and it will create the image. Okay, so my Docker file is there in the current directory, so I'll give the dot, and now if I run this, here you can see that sending build context to Docker daemon, and then the step first is executing. Okay, the first step that we had is Python 2.7 on build. Okay, so now this is the image. So first we are pulling this image from the remote repository. Okay, this image is available on the Docker Hub, so we are just pulling that image from there. So once this image is pulled, then it will go for the next step. Okay, so now first let's wait for the first step to be completed, and then we can see that what is happening in the next step. Okay, so if you see again in that image as well, we have multiple layers. So in the first layer, which is of 54 MB, okay, out of that it's almost 42 MB is downloaded. Second layer is already completed, third layer is in progress, fourth layer is in progress, and the next few layers are in waiting state. Okay, so the first layer completed, now the second, third. Okay, now it's extracting. So after extracting, it will show that it's a pull complete. Now that there is a third step we are downloading, fourth it's still pending, fifth is done. Okay, so now third step is almost done. After that it will extract. Okay, and after extraction we can see the status as a pull complete. Okay, so now you can see that it's happening fast because it's very small layers are there. Now this one is the huge, because it has around 131 MB in this particular layer. So if you see, this time it is downloading everything. Okay, but for next time, if I do this, if I do Docker build, in that case it will just finish quickly. Why this will happen? Because these steps are already, this images and all, everything is already there. Okay, so next time it will not again download and rebuild. Okay, it will just use it as is. Now it's already almost 100 MB is done. It's a total 131 MB is there. So this is the first step. We are downloading the image, that's why it is taking too much time, but that is also almost done. Now it is extracting. Now you can see that it will happen very quickly. Okay, now that is done. You can see that inside this, okay, we are executing 3 build triggers. Okay, whatever the requirement for that image done. Now it will start the second step. Okay, second step is just copy, that is done. Now in the third step we are installing that requirement.txt, that is also done. In the fourth step we are exposing the port, that is done. And in the fifth step we are starting the application. Okay, now that is also done. Okay, we are in fix just adding this command. So now everything is done. If you do docker images, now you can see that docker images, here you can see that earlier there were only nginx image was there. Okay, but now if you see, there are 2 more images got added. Okay, why 2 images? Because even though we are creating only 1 image, but we are already using 1 more image which we are writing inside the docker file. Okay, so that's why it is downloading first this image, and on top of that it is building this image. Okay, so now this image is ready. Now we can start the container directly from here. Okay, but before that, let's see how we can push and pull this image to the remote repository. Okay, and then we'll see about the container. Okay, how we can start the container out of it. Okay, now image is ready. Now I want to push this image on the remote repository. Okay, if you see my remote repository, there are only 3 images like UST1, web and web1. Okay, there is no, if you start if you write, so let me write the command docker run -d is to run the program, run the container in a daemon mode. Then -p is to bind the host port to the container port, and then there is an option for name as well, to give the name for your container. I'll give first container. Okay, name is the first, and then your image is this one 1.0. Okay, so now if I run this, you will see that now container will start with some proper name. Okay, if I do docker ps-a, you can see that name is first. Okay, so this time whatever the name we have provided, that name got assigned, but you can still see that your application is perfectly running fine. Localhost :80. Okay, we have bound the 80 port of host. You can see that your container is, your application running inside container is perfectly accessible. Okay, now the next thing, if you see, you are giving some proper tagging for the image. Okay, but if you give some wrong tag, let me give 1.1. Okay, now what will happen? First, what will happen, it will go and it will see that this rec 1.1 image is there on your local host. Okay, sorry. Now first it will see on the local machine if the 1.1 image is there or not. If it is not there, it will go to the remote repository, that is Docker Hub. It will check if that image is there or not. If it is not there, it will fail and it will give error. Okay, so let's try this. So what it is saying, unable to find image locally. Then Docker error, response from daemon manifest not found. So what it is saying, this 1.1 image is not even at the remote repository as well. Okay, so here we have to take care of properly that you are giving the image name properly as well as you are giving the tag properly. Okay, now your container is ready, your application is accessible. How to give the name, that also we have seen, right? Now we already seen some basic commands like how to stop the container, how to start the container. Okay, then how to pause it, how to unpause it, how to restart that container. Okay, how to copy from host machine to inside the container or from the container to the host machine. Okay, So that we have already seen, but here what I want to see is, now let's log in into the container as well. Okay, if I do docker ps -a, you can see that your container is running. But what I want to show you is whatever we have copied from the host machine inside the container, that how we can see that. Okay, so for that purpose we have a docker exec command -it, your container name, that is first, and then you can open any shell. Okay, now bash shell I have opened. Here you can see that the directory is app. If I do ls, you can see that whatever was there in the current directory got copied. Okay, if you want to avoid this, if you want to copy some specific data, okay, specific folders only, in that case we can use the copy command, copy instruction in the docker file. Okay, so here you can see that all this is there inside. Okay, so this is nothing but we are inside the container. If I do IPA, here you can see that there is a one interface, and the IP of that interface is 172.17.0.2. okay, now how to exit from the container? For that we have a exit command. Okay, now docker ps -a, our container is running. So sometimes what happen, sometimes container gets show in a exited state. Okay, so what does that mean? That means your container is not running anything inside the container. Okay, there is nothing running inside your container. In that case, your container will start. If there is nothing running inside the container, any process running inside the container, it will stop and it will show your container in a exited state. Okay, so that's why your container should be running there should be something running all the time inside the container, then only your container will be in a running state. Otherwise it will show in a exited state. Okay, so for that purpose let's use the busybox image. Okay, so this busybox image is a image, there is nothing running inside that. Okay, so let's do this. Docker run, let me give the name to this image, name, I'll give the busybox image name only, and then image name. Okay, or let me give the name as my busybox. Okay, and the image name is busybox. If you go to the Docker Hub and if you search busybox, there you will see that there is already an image available named busybox. Okay, that's why I'm using busybox. Okay, now if I run this, you can see that what it is saying, unable to find image busybox:\latest. Here we haven't provided any tag. Okay, so in that case it will consider the tag as a latest and it will download the image. Okay, now it has downloaded the image, and if I see docker ps, okay, you can see that this busybox container is not showing in a running state. Why it is not showing? Because it must be in the exited state. Okay, if we know that how to see the containers in exited state or non-running state, you can use -a. So here you can see that it is in exited state. So why this container is in exited state? Because there is nothing running inside that container. Okay, so how we can do this? Okay, how we can make this container running is that we can add any process which will run so that this container will be in a running state. Okay, so to see that, let's see the example. Okay, so before that, let me just remove this first container. Docker stop first, docker rm first. Okay, and now if I do docker ps -a, you can see that this container is a exited state. So let me remove it. Docker remove my busybox. Okay, now it's got removed. Okay, now if you see, there is no container either running state or exited state. Okay, docker ps -a. Okay, now let's start this busy box, but here what I'll do is there is a -c option through which we can pass the command, and the command will be sleep for 100 second or maybe 30 second. Okay, but if you want to see what is this -c option, for that let's see docker docker run -h. It's a -help in fact. Okay, so here there must be one -c option, so let's see that. Okay, what it is saying, -c CPU share, CPU's decimal, CPU. Okay, so not a -c option. Let me check how to pass this command. -e is not there, -l, -m, -publish, -t, user string, volumes. There is no such command. Okay, so I have one hack for that. So for that what we do is just use, instead of -c, or let me try this first. Okay, what it is saying, starting container process caused exec -c executable file not found. Okay, so do one thing, let me do one thing, do the run help. We should see some. Okay, not here, in fact it should show here itself, but just do docker help. In the docker help as well it is showing something or not. Connect to the daemon, overrides docker host environment, and then I put version. Okay, fine. So what we have to do is, instead of -c, just add sleep 300. Okay, so now if I run this, what it is saying again, the container. Okay, so container, let me remove this container, docker rm myBusyBox. Okay, now it got removed. Let me start it. Okay, so now you can see that if I do docker ps, you can see that this container is running. Okay, so now it will run for 30 seconds. We know that we added sleep 30, so it will just run for 30 seconds. So why this container now in a running state? Because there is something which is running. Okay, and then what it is running, this we added the sleep command which is running. So once we reach to the 30 second, you can see that now there is no ps container, now there is no running container, right? So why this is happening? Because once we reach to the 30 second, this command exited. Okay, and now there is nothing running inside the container. Okay, now if I do docker ps a, you can see that your container is in a exited state. Okay, so this is why there should be running inside the container, there should be something running inside the container, then only your container will be in a running state. Otherwise your container will be in a exited state. Okay, so that we have to remember, that when you are starting the container, make sure that your application is running all the time. Okay, otherwise your container will be in a exited state. Okay, so that's in this video. The next video that we are going to see is completely on Docker Compose. Okay, thanks then.